Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Good afternoon. John Henry here, Slingshot Futures Trading Group, SSFTG. Welcome to the daily afternoon market recap, offering overview. We're going to be taking a look at some S&P scalping as well, see if we can get something rolling on that side. I really like the idea that we had yesterday of doing a point a day, keeping the job away kind of mentality. So I'd like to push a little more on that and see if we can get some setups today while we're going over everything. So over the next 30 to 45 minutes, 60 minutes or so, we're going to be covering what took place today in the trade setups that presented themselves per the rules that we outline in the Day Trading Academy and the VIP trade plans and all of that fun stuff, along with looking for the scalps. I will be talking about every setup that presented itself today, but remember, not all patterns and setups are created equal. The ones that I'm going to be covering here don't use any common sense as a filter at all. Going long in a massive downtrend or shorting at the bottom of a range, those are all going to be they're all going to be in here. You get the picture. There's no cherry picking. It's to ensure total fairness in the overall patterning and overview and all of that. Now, if you want a chance to hang out with me for the morning session, we have a live trade room that's opened up for all of the VIPs. Runs for about 3 hours every day from 9 a.m. to the 12 p.m. lunchtime session during the U.S. morning session, basically. You can register for a 1-week trial to the private VIP room, and you can see how we trade the markets in real time while they're actually moving rather than after the fact. Trial members also have access to schedule a 30-minute call with me to discuss any questions you have about joining as a member or anything else really that you want to talk about. And the best part is it's totally free. There's no credit card or anything else like that needed to register. So register today and you can get on the calendar for a call on the next available time slot. If you have any questions about what we offer or what we have available for you, or like I said, if you have any other questions in between, we do a Q&A time after the charts this morning while we're looking for some scalps, and we'll definitely get you covered there. But if you have a more detailed question or you want to send it in via email, you can always do that too, jhb@ssftg.com. So with all that out of the way, let's take a look at what happened today. Today was no easy ball game. Today was a real tough day. You'll notice, actually, we started out the gates with the first pattern, which was a 3R win. It worked out really well. It was honestly, we were joking about how it's the one pattern that I really wasn't expecting to work today, and that's the one that worked. And all the ones that I was expecting to work today didn't work. It's just kind of how it played ball, I guess. But overall, today, for the first day of December, going into December with a little bit of a rough start, total trades 5, 1 winner, 1 successful pattern, the other 4 failed. But the cool thing is, with that 1 win, it was a 3R, so that means that the total potential today was only a negative 1R, even with 4 failed trades. The beauty of positive risk reward when you're trading appropriately. Not every day is going to be a winner, and this is a good example of it, but we started off the gates, like I said, with a really nice drive to the downside. I gotta say, honestly, I really wasn't expecting this one to actually work. The way that it was moving and everything looked more like this was going to be a slide at the open to bounce back up. It was, in hindsight, of course, but the way that they did it, it just did not look favorable for a short. Again, our job as traders isn't to cherry pick what we believe is going to happen. Our job is to show up when we know that we have an edge, and that's exactly what we had to do there. And, well, it worked, right? It's nice when you get patted on the back for following the rules sometimes. That was the 3R, and actually the only win today per all of the patterns. All of the other ones were losses. Really difficult day. They followed up with a B4 to the upside, looking for a continuation. You'll notice, and this is a common theme for a lot of these today, as far as where the stop placement goes, talk about vindictive, right? The NASDAQ had its vindictive cleats on, stepping on toes all morning, barely whipping out a lot of these. And again, per the management that we'll talk about a little bit later, there's a lot of different ways to approach it. But that said, this was also a continuation play to the upside back in the larger trend. And if we look at the larger trend, even though it is very sideways right now, we can see that it's pretty apparent that it's trying to go up. Now, that said, that doesn't mean that it's going up right now. In fact, it's in a range, and we can go both long and short. It's favorable both sides. This is just a really vindictive setup where it came down, tapped the stop out, only to go screaming up into the target. From there, it reversed all the way back down again, and started seeing some bearish potential to the lows, creating a bounce 3 to the downside, and also a nice little head and shoulders pattern going on here for a continuation play. And, well, it just railroaded it, right? They were trying to look for shorts inside of here. No remorse, just totally steamrolled through. No support whatsoever. And Even when they did come back, all they allowed were 1-to-1s and scalps, and that was about it, and a reverse back up again. After that little bit of vindictive back and forth that they had going on there, the market decided to cruise back up to the highs. Hang on one second before we end that one. The S&P is looking mighty nice above that last peak. How many freaking ticks are in this candle? This is crazy. Yeah, okay. 46.16 demonstrating the potential for shorts to maybe go in that area. 15.75 somewhere inside there. Anyway, so the bulls were looking for the continuation phase to the upside, and given that the bears had such a vindictive back and forth play, more likely than anything, it was just they were happy to finally have a low. Like, whew, thank you. We finally got the move that they've been waiting for, and they obviously exited pretty quickly with how fast that thing went screaming up. But after the rotation higher, the bulls once again had an attempt to try to come back in, and once again, an incredibly vindictive tap out in the stop area, making me have to mark this as a loss, although, again, there are ways to manage it. They got the bounce off of it, and eventually they did roll higher, but it wasn't before that was considered a loss, so again, per the rules, I have to count it as a -1R. It was a very nice run to the upside. After the pullback, they tried getting a follow-up continuation bounce, and this was another one where it certainly was not very pretty the way that it's set up, and it got really mangled all inside of there on these previous swing highs, brick top candles, all those. They typically cause some problems. They came all the way back to break even, bounced it again, almost stretched out and got the target, just to roll back over and finish off the day with another losing side. So as far as the pattern side of things goes, again, there's a total of 5 trades, 1 winner, and 4 failed trades for a total potential of -1R. Now, that's per the rules, hard entries, no common sense, no nothing. But if we zoom into this a little bit more, you'll see there's a few different things inside of here. So first off, this initial entry, they did play off of this entry point a lot. We had a lot of entries, a lot of back and forth bounces, a lot of inside scalping opportunities for traders to play ball inside of there, before they finally had the inevitable drop down to the major targets. Now, when they started creeping back up again, we are looking at a psychological poke here, because something very, very interesting happened on the NASDAQ when they came back down and poked that target one last time. And it was almost as if to say, hey, you didn't get filled down there the last time? This is your last chance. If they didn't take that chance, they got absolutely thrashed, which is why there were a couple psychological scalps inside of there for a continuation up along with that movement, even on some of these pullbacks. Lots and lots of inside scalps. When the sellers started breaking down, it looked as though they were trying to take back over again, but they obviously lost grip, sold a little bit more, and averaged out at around break even for a slight loss, I think ending around the slight loss inside of there. So even with all of that back and forth, there's a lot of ways to play it, because they played off of that level for so long, including when they came back a little bit later and bounced off of it again. That was where the earlier short area was. Again, no common sense involved here. It's just looking at the patterns. But in terms of trade management, there was a couple opportunities in there for the short to the downside, a little bit of an increase, and really it just left the station. Blew all the way up into the zone of resistance where it finally had that roll back over to allow traders out. Either that or it was just a loss. But they weren't done playing with that area. That area was a mess. This thing was a sucker punch to the face all morning because of the amount of bullish pressure that the buyers were trying to put in. The buyers kept propping this area up off of this earlier short zone. Remember, these earlier shorts got stuck. So given the fact that they weren't able to get any of those final profit targets if they didn't take it here, they were stuck all the way inside. So when it finally allowed them back out, that gave them the opportunity to get out at break even. So bulls were really trying, myself included, to get this thing to go to the upside. And then it's just, whoop, the floor just disappeared momentarily and then shot right back up again. On that rally higher, of course, we finally had a rotation into favorable territory, the initial exit and then the final exit back into the target. What a mess. This morning, and I've been hearing this from a couple other people as well, this morning and today in general has not been a very easy day, just due to the initial range that started things off. Now it seems like things are opening up a little bit more, but going into the end of the day, the final pattern of the day, again, we had that really nice pullback. You'll notice the way that we managed it. We came down into the entry point, perfect zone of interest, bounced up for the quick scalp, continued up for the 2 to 1. The 2 to 1 objective was right here. We were talking about this area acting as resistance, and you can see that bear bar there was suggesting that they weren't going to hold it. So it took a little bit of an early exit there, but again, it was a failed pattern. There were a lot of other things inside of there, and there was a possible follow-up short that we were talking about in Discord. I'm not going to count it on here because that was after we had closed the morning room. So that's something else, but that was the follow-through trade to the short side, which totally didn't work either until after it vindicted everybody out. Well, welcome to the markets. As far as going a little bit further forward, the S&P, I was trying to get a short going there on the ES at around 46.10. Well, now it's at 10.50. I wanted it a little bit further up in the 15.16s. May or may not get that, but let's see what the market wants to do here in terms of any continuation or follow-through. The S&P is trying to get the movement to the downside. Obviously, sellers are in charge. Sellers are just plummeting this thing lower. I mean, as far as zones of interest, what is there really? I mean, there's nothing until settlement. And even then, like maybe -0.5. Not a whole lot to hold them up right now. We'll see what they're able to get going. At the moment, 46.10.50 is the zone of interest for resistance on the short side. We've got a lot of candle gaps to the downside. They're all over the place. We've got a candle gap there. Little bitty candle gap right there. Creating possibly another one right now. Also, wherever this swing is, we've got another swing gap. So there's a lot of stuff saying that the market should keep going to the downside. 45.99.75. If we're looking at the overall movement, we can see the obvious downside objective is settlement, but it's forcing sellers to sell way, way far down with not a whole lot in between there. So we've got to wait and see if they can get a slight corrective phase back up compared to where it is now. It may just try to keep grinding lower. We'll see what they're able to do. We still got a solid 30-40 minutes left to see if anything's going on. Hopefully everyone's morning hopefully everyone's morning went well. Mine was challenging, but we definitely made it work. But if there are any trades or anything that you want me to cover for you or review for you, feel free to put those in. We'll get those covered too. Today's a really good example of how confusing and frustrating the market can be. I know we say it all the time, but if you haven't yet, remember, take a look over on the main page of SSFTG. There's a big registration link now for a 1-week trial that we can hang out with me in the morning session with all of the rest of the members, and while we create our morning trade plan. This morning, well, we unfortunately had to wait until like 1 o'clock until anything actually happened, so right now. See if the sellers can gain a bit more, just better pricing rather than way the heck down here. Got 2 minutes left on the candle. They closed that last bar at 99.75. Possibility of an aggressive offset at around like 175, I suppose. Hey! Laundry's done. Get it, Samsung. Sellers continuing to grind their way lower. Not really pulling back at all. They're still just right into the floor. Looking at the wider perspective, we're finally seeing crude dip back a little bit further here. This could be that wedge breakout pullback back towards settlement. It's a nice spot. Bitcoin pulling back off the highs as well. A little bit of a bummer there. Well, I feel like I might not get my fill at 10.50, but we'll see. We're going to be closing out this kind of gross bear bar here, I guess, if that's what we want to call it. We've got 26 seconds left, 25 seconds. We'll see how they want to close it out, but a weak bear bar or even possibly a bull bar would suggest that we might actually be able to get that fill at 1050. A weak bear bar, more likely that they offset it a little bit lower. Even immediately gap down to the very next candle. I mean, look at this thing. Sheesh. All right, well, with that that really, really strong bull bar, if bulls were going to be buying above it, they'd be in it around the 4,675s. So if they were going to be going for a scalp, realistically, 175 would be a logical point of interest where scalpers will begin pushing back a little bit. I like migrating that up a little bit further to 275 for a bit more of an offset. A bit more of a value played in an attempt to try to get a slightly easier move down. But that said, you know, the assumption here is that the bulls, although this is a really big move down, will have at least enough juice in the tank to try to get a scalp move. Really? Okay. Oh, there we go. Looking for an additional slide down. I didn't get that extra contract. See if they want to just push down and finish the job then. Market's just hovering, not really doing anything. I tried getting a quick little fill on that pop above the above that point, but I missed it. Didn't get a fill, so. Seems like the offset was definitely the way to go. Come on, Bessie, couple more ticks. There we go. Nice. Point a day keeps the job away, baby. We'll keep that train rolling. Nice little scalp to the downside off of that move for the S&P to pressure back. I tried to get an additional one in there to try to grab a little bit more of a run, but it didn't give it to me, so there's nothing I can do about that. We'll take the scalp either way. More continuation to the downside for sellers. They're going to be looking for more projected follow-through to the downside. I mean, we still have open candle gaps. Even this most recent drive down still has a gap. So, I mean, downside projections at the moment are down like the 45.92s in that area. See what they're able to get done here. Still in a bit of a fist fight to the downside, but I mean, it's pretty obvious the market's sliding hard. My concern and my question that I always ask myself when I see the market sliding this hard is, are they trying to reach out for something? You know, did somebody get stuck? Are they trying to complete an objective? What's going on? And if we look at the wider perspective here, we can see that the NASDAQ has been an absolute just train wreck inside of here. So if this is going to be an impulse, I mean, this is likely, or more likely, going to be a wave 2 inside of here for the drive to the downside. And, I mean, if that's the case, what's left to hold them up? I mean, they have to hold a higher low or a quick little trap, because if they start losing the 15,800s, this is game over. And then we've got a shot at the impulse to the downside and things go crazy. So this is some dangerous territory here. Scalpers pressuring back off of that little pop there and pushing back down. Nice little move. Now they're kind of hanging out and waiting. See if there are any other moves that we can get going. And while we're waiting too, not that. Excuse me. Like we were talking about before, right? We already know that the market's confusing, frustrating, can be incredibly frustrating. Today is a really good example of that. But like we always say, trading without a plan makes it more like skydiving without a parachute, or maybe trading's brand new for you. You're trying to figure it all out, or you're just looking for a solid way to start the day on the right foot and get a trade plan. Check out the Day Trading Academy over on SSFTG. It's got 19 plus hours of video course material. It teaches you why the market's doing what it's doing, or hopefully why you just dodged that last sucker punch rather than taking it to the chin. Along with that, the Academy also has the upgrade coupon, so when you're ready to go up to one of the VIP packages, you get the cost of the Academy taken off. It's kind of nice. And we have a 12%, up to 12% discount running if you pay with crypto too, so there's a ton of discounts right now. Yay, end of the year. More continuation to the downside. The bears plotting a monster of a bear bar on the S&P. Oh man, they haven't triggered the bears in. The close of that last bear bar was 91.75. I mean, really, we don't have any resistance until 600 quarter. Everything else is kind of hanging out in the middle. If you're looking for a way to hang out with me during the day in the live trade room and see, while the markets are actually moving and get going through the New York Stock Exchange Open for a solid 3 hours during the day from 9 to 12, the live trade room access is more so what you're looking for. That's all included as part of the VIP packages, all of them. Not to mention when you sign up as a VIP, you get anywhere from like 3 to 10 1-hour calls when you sign up. So we can get everything set up, get everything ready to rock and roll. 4,600 quarter. I really don't want to sell underneath the bear bar. That feels like it's begging for trouble. Would love to see 600 quarter. The last offset move worked out really nicely. The next question is, are they going to allow it to happen again? Sometimes having them back to back like that, you won't see it creep as far up, or if it does, it could be a little bit more problematic. All right, ES. 4,600 quarter. You got it in your tank? This thing's moving quick, so I'm going to place a couple of these out just ahead of time to be safe here. This bugger's moving. Still have 2.5 minutes left on the candle, so plenty of time. 600 quarter, there it is, and there it is. Nice. Nice little pulse right back down again. Beauty. Nice little zone on that balance point. Honestly, if they want to poke above that last area, that's also kind of a spot of interest here, especially considering that they have 2 minutes left on the candle. I'm half tempted for another opportunity. Maybe a little bit further up, though. This seems like it's coming with some steam. Maybe it'll throw people for a loop a little bit and try to close that last gap. It already had the little inside scalp, but I want to see if they can get a little pulse up to the 650s. It's bouncing off the golden zone. Yeah. And that's the thing. When we look back in this major zone on the S&P, this is a huge spot. The one thing that I do like about the sell side is that currently we are under that spot. Technically speaking, but now this candle's got 1:30 left. I'll give it another 20 seconds, but if this gets under a minute, I'm not interested in the short. There's not going to be enough time to get it to take place. S&P just kind of hovering around, not really doing too much. We got 130 right around the corner, not too long. Not getting that full lift that I was looking for, though. All right, they're going to be closing that out with a relatively strong bull bar, so I'm going to play this on the safer side. Look more for like the 46, 10, 75s again. That zone just makes a bit more sense given the way this thing is moving. They couldn't even trigger the bears underneath that last one. Taking the offset entry was definitely a good call. Now the bulls are possibly trying to get this to go back up. That does mean that although it looks kind of nuts, there is a potential for a buy move to the upside. Now we've got that secondary completion. We know that we have disappointed shorts that didn't get a move down. They couldn't even trigger underneath the last bear bar. So now, more likely than anything, if we trigger above this bull bar, we'll probably see a little bit of a pump on stops getting taken. There's the stops possibly getting hit. Now it's a matter of seeing whether or not it's going to be enough. Hey, Day, how's it going? So, yeah, really good question. And actually, this is a good example of what I was waiting for. The last time, I know that I want to try, perfect example of it, actually. I know I wanted to see the market go a little bit further up, but I don't have a reason as to why it should go up. Right? I have no context. I don't have anything saying that I should go long, so I have absolutely zero reason to go long. Until, right there, that did not trigger any of the shorts in. And any of the shorts that did start pushing in off of the top and tried to hold for more, got greedy, tried going for more than a point, well, they got steamrolled. And when you have that kind of momentum, that's where you get the stop run. Now I have a reason. Now I'll take a long. So it's not that I won't take a long, it's that I need a valid reason to put the risk on the table. Otherwise, it's not worth it. Nice little back and forth continuation play, bouncing around. 3 solid scalps so far this morning, or this afternoon, whoops. How's it going, Ace? Welcome, welcome, my friend. Good to see you. Got more bullish continuation, so the S&P longs are sweeping it, as expected, or more so the shorts are getting swept out, I think is the more realistic case. But either way, we've got some bullish momentum to the upside. Given that we know that shorts are getting squeezed a little bit, I don't necessarily know that I want to be the first one to step up against them. 46.1075 is a nice zone of resistance, and I do like that area. But being the first one to the party might be a bit challenging. We'll see what they're able to do. We've got more continuation to the upside. 46.10s. Not necessarily wanting to be one of the first ones, though. Looking at the bigger picture across the board and seeing what else is going on, there's not really much else going on. One of the big things that we were talking about this morning in the VIP session was looking at that 65.83 scalpers target from like a month ago, 2 months ago or whatever. They're almost there again. Let's see if they can get that 65.83. That'd be insane. Talk about maximum greed. Market just kind of jerking around back and forth a little bit. But in terms of an overall trend perspective, when we're looking at an overall trend perspective, one of my favorite scenarios is when you've got that go with continuation, and that deep kind of reset that sparks all of those value buyers who've been waiting and waiting and waiting. Or for Goldman to eat up all the stops underneath the low, whatever the case may be. In this case, we've got that all the way down now. We've got nice momentum, lower, finally seeing a little bit of a reset. It's way early to be, jumping in right now, but S&P following up with another bull bar. Don't lose track of where the longs would have originally entered in on this move, because chances are that's going to play a role later. $46.03. And here they sit. Not a whole lot going on. A little after 130. So while we're in going on the 130, while we're keeping an eye out for any more potential scalp opportunities, feel free to get those questions in. We'll get those covered for you too. Hopefully your day went well on your trading side of things. Today was a little bit of a frustrating one, but made it work in the end. All right. Bulls were trying, but now they're kind of running out of steam a little bit. There's still 3 minutes left in the candle. If there wasn't so much bearish pressure, I'd be looking for a possible buying opportunity underneath that last bull bar. I just don't have as many zeros in the account as Goldman does, so that's not going to be one for me. But this is a very obvious trap that they're trying to set up, especially with a reversal. Remember, those earlier shorts got stuck. They're trying to get out of break even. The problem is the risk. Because if it's wrong and it doesn't hold, then the risk isn't just down to here, right? It could be, but the probability sucks there. The only other place to put the risk is there. Ooh, man, that's a tough one. I don't know. So it's there, but yikes, that's a little bit far up on the risk tolerance side. Market just hovering around here, around this balance point. Lots and lots of back and forth orders going on. Bulls trying to get it to prop back up, but nice. Sold another upland property. Whoop whoop. Flipping NFTs like it's going out of style over here. So far, 3 pretty solid scalps, I would say, on the S&P. Couple nice opportunities this afternoon. Why is the so the amount of time left on a candle is so important, because when you're scalping at least, because I want to have enough time to do what I'm looking to accomplish. Remember, a scalp is supposed to be fast, right? Like, when I get into a scalp, I don't want to be in the trade for 7 hours. I mean, there will be times where you try getting into a trade and you just get stuck and there's nothing you can do about it, other than just eat the loss or take the stop, of course. But there are going to be those other occasions where if you're building in or trying to average up, you end up getting stuck and you got to sit there for a little while. It's just kind of part of the game, I guess. But when you have more time on the candle and it's at an area of interest, there's more time for it to get the job done before the candle even closes, right? Which is really what my objective is. I want to get in and get out before the candle's even done. And you'll notice a lot of the entries that I take are that way, and that's why. That's why the timing is so important, and why you'll hear me say sometimes, "Oof." There's only like 2 minutes left on the candle, or, there's only 30 seconds left on the candle. That's just not enough time, and I cancel the trade. That's because I'm looking for a scalp, and if there's only 30 seconds left, they could possibly close the candle very quickly in a direction that I don't want them to, which will change the context of everything without me having time to respond. So the amount of time left on a candle is very important when you're looking at it from a scalper's perspective. There's got to be enough time to get the job done, if you want it to be a smoother ride. Give it a couple more minutes here, see what they want to do. Again, don't forget, if you want to hang out with me during the U.S. morning session from 9 to 12, the VIPs have access to the live trade room where we operate that for 3 hours every morning. The afternoon session here is where we try to grab a couple scalps, review the trades that took place this morning, cover the things that have happened, all that fun stuff. Maybe even talk about a couple projects that may be coming up if anything's on deck. Of course, YouTube members also have the ability to join and log in with me in the morning before we start the room, doing the morning prep, getting all the levels and everything locked and loaded. Sellers trying to get continuation to the downside, the bulls losing their grip a little bit. That last bear bar on the S&P is also closing underneath their average point of entry for the longs. That's very important to note, because that means that they are now being potentially disproven. Those longs are going to be a little bit quicker to exit, especially if the current candle starts closing underneath it. Market just kind of hovering in a little bit of a zone of interest here. Not necessarily accomplishing a ton, but having a heck of a time. On the NASDAQ might have a potential for a squeeze. And the reason I like the NASDAQ more for a squeeze is because we're already under settlement. That's out of the way, and the next zone of support is underneath the low where all the stops are. So not only could it drop down to the lows, but that could create a cascade event to squeeze even further. But it's got to gain some momentum lower first. The S&P's got to figure out what the heck it wants to do. It's got a minute and a half left on this candle. Ziggy, will you stop scratching my chair? Did you just tell me no? Rotten pecker. Bulls trying to creep it back up. They got 1 minute left on this current 5-minute bar on the S&P, and they're trying to keep it to close back above those highs. I think for me and for the YouTube side, though, I'm going to call it. We've had 3 really, really solid scalps. I'm not seeing anything else really on the horizon that's setting up with without the requirement of a huge amount of risk. So overall, not a bad little afternoon session. Not too bad at all. Don't forget, we do have a 1-week trial if you're trying to check out or find a way into a live trade room and see what all is going on and how we approach the markets and all that fun stuff. You can register for a 1-week trial on the main page of SSFTG. I've already talked about a lot of the stuff already, so you don't have to go all over that again. But one of the major things that I haven't covered yet, the VIP Plus and VIP Elite packages, 2 of the 3 of those VIP packages also come with a huge added safety net for new traders with the APM Plus. And that allows you to create a safety net that you can rely on if things go south. Not to mention, you gain the rewards the longer you go without using the APM Plus rewards, so even if you don't end up needing it, you can refund it out later down the road and go on a nice vacation with the family. And that way you can celebrate your trading. If you want more info on what the APM Plus is all about, you can check that out at the on the link on the top of the page of SSFTG, and I'll get that all covered there. Also, while we're going into the holiday season, I understand holidays get incredibly expensive, and the older my kids get, the more expensive their toys get. They get smaller too. They just go up in price, and they go smaller in footprint. If you're looking for a more budget-friendly approach during these crazy times to fit your needs and find a way in without missing out on all of the awesome info that we have waiting for you, we have payment plans as little as $84 a month for 12 months, so it makes it a lot more manageable. And of course, don't forget about the 1-week trial. If you need any info about becoming a member or anything else that we're doing, or have any questions or any trades that you want me to cover for you, or any charts that you want me to look at, you can always feel free to shoot me an email, jhb@ssftg.com, and I can get you started all from there and get it all taken care of. That's going to do it, though. Really solid afternoon of trading. A couple nice little scalps inside of there. This morning was a little bit frustrating, but we made it work there too. All in all, in the end, we'll take it. So, have an amazing rest of your day, all of you, and I will see you all in the next one tomorrow again. We will be back at 1300 Eastern, see if we can find some S&P scalps, see if we can review some of our trades. Hopefully tomorrow's a little bit kinder in terms of getting some runs to go instead of paying 7 entry fees first before getting the run. Before I go off on a tangent, that'll do it. Enjoy the rest of the day. I hope you had a fantastic morning, and we will see you all tomorrow, right? Have a good one, and we will talk to you all tomorrow at 1300 for you VIPs and members. We'll see you all tomorrow morning. Thanks.